Hello, my name is Deborah Novgorodoff. I am president of the board of the church formerly known as Thomas Jefferson Unitarian. We voted in December to change our name to All Peoples, and prior to that, in July of last year, we voted to change the name. So that's what we're going to tell you about today. Our church was founded in 1960, given the name Thomas Jefferson Unitarian way back then. And many people were just very happy with that name for years and years, particularly with the nickname TJ that we called it for so many years. About a year and a half ago, we'd just completed our first year of interim, and we started getting some folks telling us, have you thought about changing the name? And I know my reaction was, no, why would we do that? Do we really have to do that? So we heard that from the first interim minister we had, Reverend Jeff Fleedman, and then we also heard it once or twice from a couple of the folks in the Mid-America region who work for the UUA, our regional staff. So come August of a year and a half ago, I had my first board retreat as president and listed out the various things we thought we needed to accomplish that year, and much to my surprise, the thing that topped the list after a vote by the board was to change the name. Again, my reaction was, oh my gosh, so many things on our plate. Why do we really have to do this? So I'll turn it to, and I didn't even let you introduce yourself.
I'm Coco Cobb, member of the Board of Trustees. I was a brand new member of the board at this August meeting that Deborah's referred to. Deborah has a background in creative thinking, and I didn't really understand the ins and outs of that, but the short version is that the stickers don't lie. We were all given stickers, and we were instructed to place our sticker on the issue that we most wanted to tackle as a board. Well, the stickers were crowded around the name change, which is what Deborah was just telling you about. I thought the name change was going to be a quick process. I thought that the biggest complication would be getting a new set of brand standards. So I thought a month, 45 days, we're gonna get this done and behind us, and then we can move forward in the world with the name we're not embarrassed of.
So Coco, say a little bit more about why you felt this name, Thomas Jefferson, didn't work for our church.
Well, we're involved. It's everything that we abhor, basically. It's white privilege. It's a lack of women's rights or freedoms. I mean, we espouse these beliefs of the inherent worth and dignity of every person, but the name on our door was a slaveholder who held a woman in sexual servitude. It had nothing to do with who we are or what we represent. And to me, it really marred the good work that so many members of our church were doing in so many aspects, in social justice, in climate change, in women's rights. I don't know if I said social justice work. Just across the board, we're doing all this work, and then this name on our door is like a smack in the face to that effort.
Well, clearly, as you can see, Coco is the one who really led the charge on this. And so the good news is I like to listen, and so we began to move forward on this. And it was November after that August retreat. We had a vote on the board and had a unanimous decision to recommend to the congregation that we change our name. congregation was a little surprised. They also hadn't been thinking about this, and so we're already a month beyond Coco's. We're going to get this done. It's going to be behind us. And we moved on. And one of the first things that we did then was to hold several in-person town halls. This was pre-pandemic, fortunately. Coco, you were at least one and maybe more of those. Do you remember your thinking or your reaction to how all that went?
There were lots of deep breaths for me. It was definitely a time when I could learn about patience and listening. The cognitive dissonance that I noticed on display for those that were really resistant to a name change was really hard for me to wrap my head around. These were people that I knew to be very intelligent and accomplished, and it seemed like they were taking the suggestion of a name change as a personal indictment. Looking back, I feel like this was the natural byproduct of the first step of maybe realizing or becoming aware of maybe their own privilege. We had a speaker, Joe Phelps, come in and talk about examining his privilege along the way, which wasn't the same privilege that all Americans have received. And I could recognize my own privilege. I mean, it was a punch in the gut, but it was a quickly recovered punch in the gut, and that was not a widely shared sentiment within the congregation, and that really came out at the town halls. The people that were pro-name change, it tended to be, myself excluded, pretty mild-mannered, and they had short things to say that were good things to say, and they were positive. But they were more watching the change happen than digging their feet in trying to prevent it. One of the other things we did along the way was soliciting feedback from people where they were. We have members that receive their communications via letters in the mail, snail mail, via email, and also via announcements. So we reached out across all channels because we did want to reach everyone. People were invited to write in. We also had guest speakers. There was a professor from the University of Kentucky named
Dr. Jane Calvert.
Yeah, she came in to speak, and that was a seed of change, I would say. But we were still concerned about numbers because the way our bylaws were written, we had to have a 2/3 majority to change the name. So pre-pandemic, early name change, there was some doubt that we would have the votes to do it. Then the pandemic came and the pause in this process. The board shifted focus from a to-do list to a pandemic response plan, which I think was pretty well shared across the nation. Unfortunately, during this same time, Breonna Taylor was killed. Everyone was at home and watching the news all the time, and examining these issues of white privilege and the Black Lives Matter movement, it became mainstream while we were making this push for the name change, and I really feel like it helped propel us towards a pro vote.
Someone in our congregation has asked the question of how we will live into our new all people's name, and I think it was a very wise question, and I find myself every day, asking that.
Hopefully it's often and regularly is how we live into it, and I really think that's the only way that we can hope to honestly do it, is if we're constantly reflecting and questioning. I think it's I don't think there's an end destination here. I think it's a journey that keeps going for us. I always heard around the church and from people, oh, you're young. How do you think we can get more young people? And how do you think we can get a more diverse membership? Diverse meaning not all white. And I would think to myself, and luckily my ticker tape didn't read, maybe change the name on the door so that people aren't offended before they walk in. Anyways, I think now we can legitimately attract a more diverse pool of people, or we at least have the opportunity to do so. Whereas before, I think the name of our organization would be a stopping point for many.
Coco, I thank you for all that you've brought to this church and for getting us started on this journey.
I thank you for your patience and reminding me that things don't happen immediately. I'm really glad we're here.